Hello and welcome. In this video series, I'm going to talk about Oats, which is a modular and extensible open source code generator tool written in TypeScript that is capable of generating both client and server-side TypeScript code from OpenAPI documents. Let's start with the motivation. Why does this project exist? I'm a front-end dev with strong roots in statically typed languages, and I have been working with TypeScript the past 6 years or so. I really enjoy that I can statically type everything on the front end. Except the most important thing, the data that is being exchanged between the server I interact with and the client I develop. I can obviously build static typings myself on the client side that mimics the data the server currently expects and exposes, based on whatever documentation the server developers provide, or based on sheer experimentation if documentation is not available. But at the moment something changes in the server's public API, my code is either partially or fully incorrect. And even though HTTP-based data exchange solutions like GraphQL can help with this problem, in my experience, a lot of developers and companies just prefer to use REST for its simplicity. So while REST APIs are being used, this will be a problem. This problem is partially solved by documenting APIs using a standard like OpenAPI. It allows API creators to describe the behavior of their endpoints in a human-readable and tooling-friendly format. But this on its own does not help, as having an API description in a separate document is not part of my code base. I would still have to keep my code in sync with this document manually, which I find wasteful as it can be automated. Here comes the idea of generating code that makes the API interactions go according to the contract set by an OpenAPI document. There are already quite a few open source projects that aim to do this, but they either do a very specific thing that the author needed, for example just generate static typings, or try to do too much like the official OpenAPI code generators, which last I checked could generate something for many languages, but with questionable usability, quality, and especially customizability. With this statement, I really don't mean to bash on other developers. This is just my experience with what I found available before starting working on Oats. So my initial goal was to create a modular, TypeScript-only code generator written in TypeScript that can generate client-side code that actually makes sense. The scope quickly extended to the server side too, when I first demoed the project and got a lot of questions either explicitly or implicitly asking about why there is no server-side counterpart for this. I really like the idea of not only generating code for consuming an API, but also generating as much as possible for the server side as well. This allows both sides to be working based on a language, platform, and framework independent OpenAPI document, and also allows both client and backend devs to easily submit change proposals for the API contract without fully understanding how the other side works. So this has been the focus of my work with Oats, creating a code generator that focuses on TypeScript only and gives you a full suite of tooling around OpenAPI. It's also done in a way that each part of the code generator can be configured to suit a wide range of use cases. And in case you have a very specific use case, each part of the generator can also be replaced with a completely bespoke implementation and without forking the project. I talked about the goals, motivation, and design philosophy, but what exactly does Oats offer? In short, at the time of making this video, Oats can generate name types, type guards, and type validators, query, path, and header parameter types, their respective serializers and deserializers for any valid parameter serialization style, request types with the appropriate body, MIME type, query, path, and header parameters, and response types with the appropriate status code, body, MIME type, and response headers. Client-side code that can execute requests with precise error checking, meaning if the backend doesn't respect the spec, it will tell you clearly what's the problem. And the same on the server side, but giving you a chance to recover and respond with descriptive errors if a request was incorrect. Each of these artifacts are produced by self-contained generators. They reuse and reference each other's outputs, and you can do the same if you choose to create your own generators. Oats also allows you to choose the name and file path for each generated artifact independently from the generators as configuration, but also gives you readily usable defaults. You can also customize how your input OpenAPI document is read, validated, and your generated output is written back to the disk, or whatever else you choose to do with it. So in this video series, I'm going to demo how you can build an API, how you can test it using both unit tests and end-to-end tests, and how a client can interact with this API, all based on and fully in sync with an OpenAPI document using code generated by Oats. I hope to see you in the next video, and I hope you will find something interesting in the series. Until then, you can find the link to the repo, the documentation, and the interactive demo in the video description.